How are you, everyone? We are Walk the Cinema podcast, and today we're going to be talking about Birdman, or the unexpected virtue of ignorance. But first, I would like you to know that we have merch, and you can check that out in our link tree or, in the description, and we'll have shirts and stickers. That's pretty much it. But yeah, you're here for Birdman.
Yeah, so this is a movie that's been on my radar for a little bit. I never saw it when it came out. And it was very different than what I had originally expected in terms of content, I guess. But to be fair, I didn't really look into it too much before I saw it.
Yeah.
I just knew it had Michael Keaton in it. He had this sort of alter ego, which is Birdman, but it's not really an alter ego.
It is in a way.
In a way it is, but it's a past self of his.
Sure.
You know?
So this one, Best Picture, and it's pretty easy to see why. It is, in concept, a really, really good film. Mm-hmm. I really like what they decided they were going to do with this. The execution... Sometimes, I don't know, it could feel not perfect. Even though a lot of people think this is like the best movie to win Best Picture, there's also people that don't like this at all. I'm kind of in the middle, but more leaning to thinking this is really good.
I thought this was really good, and I see why it won Best Picture, because it is kind of critiquing the movie industry right now.
Right.
While also kind of showing that is also kind of pretentious to critique it. But I think that the main thing, it's showing that both sides are kind of dumb in terms of their thinking, because you have Michael Keaton, who plays a character that is known for being a superhero from the past, Birdman, and talking about how that's all he's known for pretty much. He can't escape it.
Right. That's what a lot of actors are going to go through. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that Robert Downey Jr. is going to have a similar... I don't know, renaissance like Michael Keaton had with this. Because Michael Keaton, of course, is Batman. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he regrets being Batman, but he wants to move on from it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to only be known for Batman. Right. And it's hard. And so in this, it's about an actor that's trying desperately to make his mark on the industry. So that's why he went into Broadway. So he wrote the play that he is directing. He's a director in it, and he's acting in it. He does it all for this. And it's about his journey going through that, determining if he is good enough. He contemplates quitting. Some people tell him that he's not, this isn't a real passion of his. It's just his last resort to stay relevant and to stay...
But it's not, because we see him from his perspective. And of course, obviously, he just wants to get away from his past. Not only playing a superhero, but, everything else in his past. Where, he has his ex-wife or whatever that he has a daughter with. Mm-hmm. He has a bunch of problems that he wants to get away with, and he wants like kind of a fresh start in something that he hasn't done before. But then people think he's just ruining another art form.
Yeah. Because
he ruined movies by doing these commercial, a lot of people think are good for nothing films.
At least in the industry.
Sure.
The general audience still hold him pretty belovedly, as we see multiple times where people have come up to him more so than anybody else and asked for pictures.
Yeah, but they hold him belovedly as his superhero character.
Yeah, but it's still kind of like...
Not as him as a person or him as an actor, just him that, oh, you played this character I like.
Mm-hmm. But it's still, like, he's more relevant than he thinks, in a way, where, like, there's the scene where Edward Norton's character and him are at a bar, and... Edward Norton's like, I run this town. Like, I am the most important person in this town. And someone immediately comes up and asks for Michael Keaton's picture and not Edward Norton's.
Right.
And that's kind of, these types of franchise movies do kind of leave a more lasting impact on society and culture than anything that
Yeah.
Broadway does, where you can obviously you can make an argument that Broadway is probably a little bit more of a creative, artistic version of entertainment than a superhero movie, but to the public it doesn't matter.
No.
You know? Like, to the general public, it does not matter.
The public is there for just entertainment. That's why Top Gun Maverick just broke $1 billion as we're talking. And that's crazy to me that a sequel to a action movie from the 80s just made so much money. But that doesn't matter to the general public. They just know that this is a huge action movie with a lot of cool things happening, and that's what they want.
Yeah, and a lot of like nostalgia elements. Like, I know a lot of middle-aged moms currently grew up on Top Gun and really enjoyed Top Gun.
Yeah, but shout out to all the middle-aged moms listening to this.
Well,
yeah, statistically, I think we have a couple, but
yeah, not many. Doesn't really matter, but you know, it is an interesting critique, and I think it is a good critique to have. But then I thought it was also funny that they were trying to find a replacement for the actor in the movie, and he keeps naming people, and they're all in the superhero movies. He's like, oh, what about this person? Oh, they're doing this right now. Right. Okay, what about this person? They're also doing this right now. So
because everyone seems to be doing this.
Yeah, everyone.
And this is 2014, but now we're talking 2022. Mm-hmm. It's everyone.
It's literally everyone. And I thought it was funny that they casted, Edward Norton for the guy that they end up settling on, because he was also supposed to be in the Marvel movies.
Right.
Before. I really don't know what happened. I never looked into it, but I do remember seeing the 2008 Hulk movie and thinking it was awful. So, I think that probably played a role in him not staying in the franchise, because he was supposed to be in the MCU universe.
But speaking of Edward Norton, he's kind of playing himself in this, or like the
perceived.
The perceived assumptions, whatever, that a lot of people have about him as someone you work with that's really annoying and really
high
petty. Yeah, high maintenance for sure. He's in this movie is really petty about certain things because, again, it's his town. He knows what he's doing, so he's going to tell you don't, and you need to change this and that. He's also an alcoholic, and he's really belligerent. And he kind of, does very weird things on stage.
Yeah, he kind of sexually assaults his girlfriend on stage.
Yeah, so this is him kind of playing parts of what people think, or the rumors that were around about him, as someone that you work with, and it's just
he gets what he wants because he draws in money, essentially. Sure. He is he is the guarantee that this is going to make money.
This is more than meta just about Michael Keaton. It's these little things. Mm-hmm. It is also meta about Edward Norton, and I think Edward Norton is probably the best in this. I know Michael Keaton is the main character, he's the one that got a lot of attention, but I think Edward Norton is legitimately the best actor in this.
He does such a good job at playing these douchebag characters, which is, really funny to me. He kind of looks like one, that's just how you think of him. That character is kind of 100% how I would think of him. Some guy that, is insecure about his body, kind of, because we do kind of see that, where he kind of rejects the daughter of Michael Keaton because he's afraid he can't get it up and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's overly confident in other ways, I think, to kind of make up for that, and that's kind of how I view Edward Norton. Just, in general.
Yeah. Speaking of his relationship with Michael Keaton's daughter. Mm-hmm. Emma Stone.
Yeah, Emma Stone plays her.
There's a lot of big names in this. There's no point in naming it. You can just look the cast up, I guess. But I feel like a lot of the interpersonal relationships in this are solely based around sex. And that's a problem to me. Where, characters only interact with each other privately because they want to have sex with each other.
Yeah.
And that's not good enough. It's just not good enough for me. It's not good enough that the only reason Edward Norton and Emma Stone talk is because they kind of want to have sex. And the reason that, we get like a lesbian kiss is the only scene they actually talk to each other.
Yeah.
And it involves sex, kind of, in a way. I guess it's just a kiss, but still.
You're just saying that, like, all of the characters interact on, like, a sexual level and not really anything.
Yeah, there's no personal the conversations between Edward Norton and Emma Stone are, like, personal in a way, but the origin of it all is them being attracted to each other, I guess? And, like, this back and forth game they play. But there's also the big criticism about this, because the interpersonal relationship is the personal thing I haven't actually read anywhere or anything. But a lot of people seem to look at this movie as self-important.
I mean, I definitely see that criticism, but I also would argue that it also is kind of pointing out that it's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Where it's like, I don't know, I feel like it does to me kind of show that these are the decisions that you made as an actor to do. You're still relevant. You're still, it might not be in the way that you want it to be, but I don't know. I don't think that Michael Keaton would have taken this role if all of it was just crapping on his legacy. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of people do think, and they look at it as just like, oh, it's an anti-superhero movie. It's not an anti-superhero movie.
Mm.
Sure, there's anti-superhero opinions, but that's not what the movie's about. And a lot of people are defensive about their favorite characters or their favorite universes or whatever.
Right.
But I think that's pointless to point out as why you don't like this movie, because it's anti-superhero. Even if it was, that's not a good enough reason to not like it.
I really wouldn't say it's anti-superhero.
It's not.
Like, that's the backdrop of it, is like trying to get away from these big franchises. But then at the same time, like, I think it kind of doesn't blame those people that do the franchises, because they do make a lot of money. And as an actor, that is your job. Your job is to make money being in these movies.
And if this movie was anti-superhero, Alejandro Inarritu would get away from superhero stuff, which he doesn't. Like, the whole movie is shot digitally. There's not a single scene that's shot on film. Yeah. It's all digital. That would be like one of the first things you'd get away, right? There's a lot of cinematographers that work with directors exclusively because they're anti-digital. They only want to work with film. Like, Tarantino only works with film. Well, not only, but, like, he makes sure that he works with the formats he likes. And this is fully digital, like most big studio movies. So that's one of, like, the earlier things that tells me that it's not Iñárritu's hate for superheroes or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It is meta in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially about Michael Keaton.
Yeah, and like as it goes on, you kind of see that the play that he adapted from, I think it's a book, and it does kind of mirror what the character's life is going through, at least the same emotions and stuff. And so, like, I think that he might not realize that at first, but then as the movie progresses, you see more and more similarities, even when you're watching the same scenes over and over again. Mm-hmm. Because we really only see about 2 scenes from the play multiple times, or like just at all in the film. Mm-hmm. And you see them at multiple points during the progression of the story.
Yeah, it's the scene where they're talking about love in the kitchen, and then it's a scene where he walks into the bedroom and his wife is like with someone else in the bed.
Yeah, and how he feels like he deserves love, and all this other stuff. So, but I think that it progresses as the film progresses, and so it's kind of ironic to me when the lady that is the critiquer for the play, and she's like, I'm gonna destroy it, no doubt,
no matter what, because what you signify is bad, and I hate you.
Yeah, and you didn't work your way to be here. You just got here. You got the financing. You got the green light because of who you are.
I think she calls him a Hollywood clown.
Yeah.
Like, you're not an actor.
You're a celebrity.
Yeah, you're a celebrity. Which, to be fair, is true for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Not to call any names out, right? But it is true that a lot of big blockbuster actors are just celebrities. Like, there's the joke that The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, is the same role as the same movie over and over again, but he's a big enough celebrity that people still go and watch.
Yeah, and I can see that. But you could also say the same thing about, like, Adam Sandler to a certain degree, you know? Even though he is doing stuff that I would consider is better quality nowadays, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, even his new movie on Netflix, Hustle. We watched that, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it was a little bit more...
If we're talking as a movie, it's pretty standard. If we're talking Adam Sandler,
yeah,
he really does seem to have his dramatic career as his main focus right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could critique almost any actor that's been in... critique
everyone.
Yeah.
I can critique actors I like, and just anyone can be critiqued. And again, there's no point in her saying, you're this, so I'm going to give you a negative review, because she should be critiquing
based on the work
that she sees, but to her it doesn't matter. But that's also what we're seeing, that a lot of theater is also fake, because she makes or breaks a play, is what they say. Her negative review means that you're dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
But when we see the inner workings of that, we see that she's not planning on giving a good review if it's good. It's going to be a bad review no matter what, so that's fake in itself.
Yeah. And I've seen so many iterations of what it's like to be in theater, just in theater,
mm-hmm.
in New York, specifically, like on Broadway, and none of it sounds fun. Like, none of it looks fun, none of it... I can't imagine anyone wanting to go into theater in any sort of way just based on any of the media that you get shown about being...
There's a lot of gatekeeping.
Yeah, it is gatekeepy. It's very much like you have to also break yourself, I think, in order to move up in theater.
Or how dare you do multiple things? How dare you go to Hollywood and then do theater?
Yeah.
How dare you be a superhero?
Which, I mean, I've kind of... The only person that I feel like I've seen that has done that and, like, I haven't really seen anything about him being a sellout or, you know, gatekeeping him has been Adam Driver, which is kind of surprising because, I mean, I feel like he does everything. Like, he was on that Broadway play with, what is her name? I'm not going to remember it, but I can picture her face.
That helps people listening.
Yeah, I know. She was in Austin Land, for any of those that have seen that.
I've seen it, but I don't remember who's in it.
Yeah, it's the main girl in Austin Land. And she was in Waitress. Like, she did Waitress, the movie, which is also a Broadway musical. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he did that, and I didn't really see people commenting how... I only saw praise for him for that, and then... I mean, he's obviously been in the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah. But I think people come with the assumption that he doesn't like being in the Star Wars franchise and he wanted out. He just did it for a paycheck, which, fair. I mean...
Yeah, but I still feel like you can't... If you're going to gatekeep something, like, be consistent with your gatekeeping.
Danny DeVito also does Broadway or off-Broadway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
but people just love him for being himself, so...
Yeah, he's kind of become something more than theater or like just entertainment. He's kind of transcended.
Okay,
I don't know. But...
Let's speak of positives about this film, because there's a lot. And this was a very hard film to shoot. They did it in order, which is extremely unusual.
Yeah.
They filmed every scene in order, and there's so many like long shots that if you mess up, you're gonna ruin it for a lot of people. So I think they had, which is normal in movies like this, to have like bets, like if you screw it up, you gotta, and this talks for the improvisation skills that some people have, because Zach Galifianakis forgot lines, but he just kept going and improvised, and most of them got put into the actual final product.
Yeah, I think that he's really good at... I thought his role was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was a small role, But
he made the most of it.
He made a lot of it, actually. I think it really worked, and his character needed to be in this, even if he was, like, not in it a lot.
Yeah.
It did, like, play an elevating role to the rest of the film.
Yeah, he puts the pressure on the main character and, like, a sense of, you need to do this because we are out a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of, like, the shots, I did enjoy the continuous type way of the storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a one shot.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that because it doesn't feel like the gimmick.
No.
Like 1917 felt.
Because with 1917 and with Rope from Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, Rope is the first one, so it will feel gimmicky.
Yeah.
Because it was a gimmick. Those
are like in real time, essentially, where the cuts, because they obviously do have to cut, but the cuts are kind of, if they go behind a chair or it fades.
They're hidden.
He gets, in 1917, he
used a
passes
lot
out, you know?
Yeah, Hitchcock used a lot of, like, going against someone's back to cut. In 1917, there's that huge cut where he just passes out and it's all black. Which I thought about that watching Birdman now for like a second time, where the camera kind of turns into the street and then we see like all the lights turning off and the sky getting black and then the sun rising. And they did it, like in 1917, they could have just done that, like sped up the natural time, but they just cut to black.
Yeah.
It makes it more apparent that we're just cutting and moving on into the future a couple hours.
Yeah.
With Birdman, I really like that they just sped up the process by changing the lighting in real time.
Or like when it would be the inside of the backstage, it would then transition like through a door and then you'd be in his apartment or, you know, in a different location.
It's very well edited.
Yeah.
I think the editing also wasn't too complicated, again, because they did shoot this in sequence and they shot it like specifically to be edited quickly and seamlessly. So I think the editing took like 1 or 2 weeks, which is incredibly short. And it was like a process that they had to rehearse so much that it is very technically impressive.
Well, yeah, and it's also kind of like it's shot, or I think probably the lines are more along the lines of what you would do for a play, like a Broadway play. There's no cutting in a play. You just have to know your lines, know your marks and stuff.
I mean, we see that when he gets stuck outside, he has to run out in his underwear and then run back in through the crowd. He just has to do it, because if he doesn't do it, the play just kind of comes to a halt and you can't move on from that. Yeah.
It'd be very difficult too, at least. But this did win Best Picture, like we mentioned before, and I just wanted to go over like the other movies that were in the Best Picture category that year. It was American Sniper.
Not good.
Boyhood.
I haven't seen Boyhood.
The Grand Budapest Hotel.
That's very decent, but
The Imitation Game, Selma, The Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. And I feel like out of those things, I totally understand why Birdman won.
I think Whiplash, now if we were going to revote, right? I think Whiplash could have edged this. The Theory of Everything is garbage.
Yeah, I hated that.
And American Sniper is kind of a joke for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it was between this and Whiplash if we're talking about, like, what the people love.
Yeah, I think that for me personally, I still really liked the Grand Budapest Hotel more than this, but this was honestly a very close second for that year for me.
I like the Grand Budapest Hotel more. I like Whiplash more, but I like the Grand Budapest Hotel more than Birdman, but I would still vote Birdman, because we're talking Best Picture. Yeah. It's supposed to be a big achievement, and I don't think the Grand Budapest Hotel is a huge achievement for Wes Anderson. Yeah, but we do have an episode on that. So if you want to go and find that episode, you'll get more opinions on the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Very true.
So we're gonna go to the ratings, I guess. To me, I've always been stuck between 7, 8, 9. Gave it a 9 like last time I watched it. So this time I gave it a 7. Maybe next time I give it an 8. I don't know. It hits different at different times because your mood is always different, you know. This time it just kind of, I don't know, felt more gimmicky to me, less funny. Again, the interpersonal relationships aren't great, but it is a character study of the main character, I suppose, with the background of New York theater scene being, like, harsh on him.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll stick to the 7 for now, but in the future, I might change it.
I gave it an 8. I do get what you're saying about the interpersonal relations being a little flat. But I do think that the main character and Michael Keaton are just likable enough that you enjoy being with him as the movie goes on, but obviously is a very flawed character with just how he is, how he treats people, how selfish he is. But it's one of those things where I don't mind following him for the 2 hours-ish that this movie is.
The scenes with him and Edward Norton are huge highlights. Yeah. The editing and techniques in this is also a huge highlight. I don't love Emma Stone in this at all.
She's whatever.
I think the scene where she's yelling at her dad kind of brings me down on the movie, where it like really takes me out of it for some reason.
It does feel a little bit like, I don't want to say cheap, but it doesn't hit as it's not as impactful as I think that it should be. Yeah. But it does like bring out the fact that he has cared only about himself for so long.
Yeah, even if it's not my favorite of the year, again, I do think it should have won Best Picture. Yeah. Because of what it represents and what they achieved. And it's unique in itself.
Agreed.
But I don't think much else nominated that year was incredibly unique, even if it was well done. So, yeah, Birdman, good. What else would be good is a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or just a subscription and like on YouTube.
But I think we're going to wrap it up there, so we'll see you next time.